welcome to reading in week 8. Now this week we're going to do slightly different. So we're going to have a couple of days where we're doing some independent work, and a couple of days where we're doing some group work as well. So because the guided reading groups are working really well on a Monday, and I'm not quite 100% getting what I want out of kids. So we're going to have some little group sessions during the week as part of our reading, rather than a task on DB, so I can actually get what I want from you. Okay. Now I'm going to model what we're going to do for the independent task, whereas the group tasks will be me and you having a chat like we do in our guided reading groups. Okay, because I'm finding them really useful. So I want to run them a little bit more. So that's what's going to happen next week. So this week, we've got guided reading groups on the Mondays. Then we'll have an independent work on a Tuesday, some guided groups on a Wednesday, independent on Thursday, and then guided groups again on a Friday. Okay, so in independent groups, you read a book of your choice. Okay, and then I'll explain what we're going to do. All right, so I'm just going to read to you Ninja Kid 6 for a little bit, and then I'll discuss the activity that we're doing up here. All right. So in most places, Halloween is about trick or treating, but in Duck Creek, it's all about the Halloween Fair. The Halloween Fair is the biggest event on the Duck Creek calendar. We look forward to it every year. The fair always has heaps of fun, carnival games, food stalls, and cool rides. Last year, Kenny and I still weren't tall enough to go on the scariest and best rides. The Nanaconda, the Spooky Spew Maker, the Howling Werewolf. Since last Halloween Fair, Kenny and I have slept well and eaten all our veggies, most of the time, hoping that by the time the fair returned, we'd be tall enough for all the scariest rides. We even took on a tough exercising program. Huff, puff. So we did a bit of onomatopoeia last week. Got a bit of onomatopoeia there. Kenny was a hard fitness trainer. When I was so exhausted I could hardly move, he'd make me do the extra push-ups. Give me 10 more. We even spent 10 minutes every day hanging off the monkey bars, hoping that it would stretch us. What are you doing? Just hanging around. We waited until the day before the Halloween Fair to measure ourselves, but the rule-up brought terrible news. Luckily, we had a backup plan. Hair gel. Tall enough? Yes. Now that we were just tall enough, we were super excited to get to the fair. Kenny gets even hungrier when he's excited. Can I have that spare bowl of porridge too? Kenny asked. It's not a spare, Mum said. It's Grandma's breakfast. Bummer. Where is Grandma? I asked. She's having storage issues in her workshop, so she's doing a tidy up. Mum said, I'm sure she'd love some help. And we'd love to give her a helping hand, or 4, Kenny said, but we can't be late for the bus to the Halloween Fair. Bye! Wait, Kenny, we need to say goodbye to Grandma, I reminded him. But she'll make us help clean the workshop, Kenny said. That's the least we can do after all the great things she's done for us. Come on, it'll be fun. You're right, Kenny replied. And the last time I saw Grandma's workshop, it was in pretty good shape. Won't take us long. Kenny spoke way too soon. There were boxes scattered all over the floor. There were bits of metal and timber everywhere. There were hundreds of half-finished inventions piled on top of each other. Like the family haircutting machine, chop, 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 a bit more onomatopoeia, and the glow-in-the-dark toilet. Hi, Grandma. We're here to help you clean up the workshop, I said. Thanks for the offer, Grandma said, but it's all sorted. Check this out. Whoa, what's that, I asked. You'll see, Grandma replied. She aimed the device at the glow-in-the-dark toilet and fired. Zap! The toilet shrank to half its size. Now I know where to go if I need to do half a wee. Next, Grandma aimed the device at the boxes on the floor. Zap, zap, zap. The boxes shrunk down to miniature versions of themselves, allowing Grandma to easily stack them on the shelves. Grandma kept firing until there was nothing left on the floor. That is seriously impressive, I said. So, it's a shrink gun, Kenny asked. No, Grandma replied, it's a size converter. It can make things bigger too. Alright, so we'll stop it there. Now, what our task is when we're doing some independent things, I want you to describe your settings. Okay? Now, we did some things last week in terms of some onomatopoeia and similes and all that. So that's our writing task for this week. We're going to introduce that into our reading task as well. Okay, so we're doing some reading about writing. And what our task is when we're doing the independent is we're actually describing the setting that our book is taking place in. Okay, so it's your job to choose a book that you're reading. All right. Now, if you're having trouble finding books, you can definitely get on the Reading A to Z because that's got plenty of books on there for you to read. Or you can just email me or ask me, and I'm pretty sure I can find some books for you. But for the independent task, you need to read your own book. I'm not going to set any books for you to read. Okay. Now, as I said, it's describing a setting. So I'm going to describe. So there was a few settings in this, and I'm just going to describe a couple of them. Okay. And I'm going to try and use some of the skills that we learnt last week to sort of try and spice it up a little bit. So the fair looked like a huge, glorious playground. Okay, so I've used a simile straight away. So I likened the fair to like a big, massive, glorious playground. It was full of fantastic rides, and it looked like as much fun as being able to float. Okay, once again, I've used a bit of a simile there because I think being able to float would be pretty much fun. So I've sort of likened it to that. Then Grandma's house / workshop was as tidy as Shakur's room. Okay, so you can imagine what an 8-year-old's room looks like. It's pretty messy. That's right. So Grandma's house, once again, I've used that simile as Shakur's room. It had boxes everywhere and many failed experiments littered throughout. The best way to describe it is a lolly store where the kids have been let loose, and a massive, massive junk with no responsibility. Okay, so I've tried to get a bit of a picture of what the setting looked like. So once again, this should be about a bare minimum that I expect, because you should be able to write in good detail. So, and I'll give you hints, obviously, but things to think about, like what kind of things could you possibly did we find out that we smelt at the setting? What did it look like? How big was it? You know, did it change? Why did it change? Okay, and then get all that into the description to give people a really good picture of what the actual setting is. So for 2 days a week, that's what our task will be, where you're reading an independent book and describing this setting. So quickly recap: reading week 8. On a Monday, we've got our guided reading groups. On a Tuesday, we'll be doing this independent describing the setting task. On a Wednesday, we're going to have some small groups that I'm going to really focus on things that haven't been doing quite well in the last couple of weeks. Thursday, independent. Okay. Then Friday, small groups again, working with me on a book, and we discuss its features and stuff like that. Okay. So that's what the week in writing will look like. Hopefully, we can use some of the skills that we learnt last week and really have the ability to describe a setting, because that will get us in good stead for the week after. Because the week after, we're probably going to, at this stage, we'll be looking at characters. Okay, we can describe characters, but because our focus has been on setting for the last couple of weeks, we're going to describe the setting. We're going to really look into detail about that. So hopefully, I see some very good descriptive writing on the settings that you're reading, and that way there I'm able to get a really good picture of the book that you're reading. So thank you very much, and hopefully you enjoy a reading in week 8.